the Noble Eightfold Path, that how exactly can you reduce all this jerry, take away all this, problem of this noise, all this horrible feeling in your heart. So you have to do it in stages, okay? In stages.
So it's a process.
It's a process. It's a process, because first of all, you cannot engage yourself in meditation if you have a whole pile of jerrys, in your head like this. So the first stage is, the Buddha told you to practice morality. Okay, practice morality. In my book, I always talk about this structure of life. The structure of life, which I represent as a triangle. A triangle that there are. Gosh, I cannot find it. It's okay. I will insert that. A triangle of life, which on the top of the triangle is the nature of the freedom, the ultimate freedom, or the ultimate freedom, the real happiness. Okay, so this is the wisdom that people got to understand. People got to know that the goal of life is just try to free yourself from all this, which means true happiness. And then next, how you do it, you got to practice morality. Practice morality. Practice morality is mean that all the good things do it, all the bad things just don't do it.
That's right.
In this first stage, this is about trying to understand about money, about wealth, about social status, about all these things that they call the worldly happiness. That involve around wealth, fame, and status. So when you can really tackle all this problem about wealth, fame and status, by knowing that they are not long lasting, they are not real, they're just temporary, then just let it go. This is the first stage that you can do. Practice morality. It means that you can get rid of all these black cherries. You see, if you don't do anything wrong, you got no reason. You got no reason to be afraid of any wrongdoing. You don't have stress. So it means that all this unsettlement, will settle down, halfway already if you practice moral precept. So this first stage, that you get rid of all these, black cherries.
Understanding the right way, so to say.
The Noble Eightfold Path got to start with the right view. Okay, Sammaทิฏฐิ, the right view. This first stage, to get rid of all this black cherry, I elaborated into these two books. Okay, the User Guide to Life, the Moral Diet, and the User Guide to Life, the Law of Karma, which I guide people to do 5 things. Okay, you practice the 5 moral precepts, and then learn to give. Learn the giving. Giving is giving. In the material form, or give your time, give your patience, give the apology, all these things. It's all about giving. Forgiving people, all these things. Okay, and then try to live a simple life, because the more simple you are, people are like this because they expect too much, and then their life are not simple. But if you lead a very simple life, all this unsettlement will be less. Okay, and then don't be afraid of death, and then believe in the law of action, or law of karma. So these 5 things, it's all in here. The User Guide to Life, it means the life map, because that you want to free your mental self, from all this suffering. So you need to use a life map. Now follow the map. So this is the first part of the map. Now once you practice moral precept, okay, which reduce the population of jerry, or population of problem in your mind, because you already tackle all this wealth, status, fame, all this, tackle them away, and then you can let go. But it doesn't mean that when you become a good person, it doesn't mean that you can be totally happy straight away. No, you still got stress, you still got worries about your children's future, or when your children, come back home a bit late, you worry about them, or parting from your loved ones, all these things. You still have a certain amount of suffering, of suffering. So the Buddha said that if you want to really be able to let go of all this suffering a bit faster, you got to practice meditation. To be more specific, to practice the four foundation of mindfulness. Sometimes we call vipassana. Vipassana. Okay, so I come to create my own terminology, okay, by using the word bring your mental self back home. Bring your mental self. Why bring your mental self back home? Because I like you to see that, you know, this nature is just very much like your mental self is lost. Your mental self is lost in your mental jungle, in your mental jungle, unable to come home. And home is the best place. There's no place like home. Yeah? Your physical self, you at least have one home to go back to. But your physical home have no guarantee that you will find peace in there. Because in your physical home, you might have a really big Jerry at home, you know, waiting for you, which give you lots of problems. So if you can recognize that your mental self is your real self, your mental self also have four homes to go back to, according to the Buddha. Okay, you can also extend into one big home. So if your mental self can find the way to go back home, that is the ultimate happiness. That is the ultimate peace. So that's why the Buddha teaches how to, you know, bring a mental self back home, or the four foundation of mindfulness, vipassana, the same thing. Which the actual practice is very simple, very neutral. If I use the term, you know, this is your mental self, you've got the mental eyes, so use your mental eyes to know your breathing, use your mental eyes to know your movement, use your mental eyes to know your physical sensations, which are the first two foundations of mindfulness. These two first foundation of mindfulness will carry on reducing the number of jerrys or your thought, you know, your punching thought in your head. Reduce them, just get rid of all this, you know, jerry's population from your head until you are able to free your mental self from all your jerrys. And if you remember, jerrys are the carrier of your problems from the external world. So basically, meditation or vipassana, bring your mental self back home, is in fact a shortcut to get rid of all these jerrys. Okay?
Yeah.
So when you can do that, you will feel good inside, which allow you to be in control, inner peace, like this. Okay, so this basically is how you can do it.
So this is your outer world.
This is the external world,
External outer world.
yeah.
And this is the inner world.
Inner world.
This is the what do you call
Your
it?
physical
My
self.
physical self. This is the how you say
The shell.
the shell.
Yeah, this body.
Does not
That
do anything without its mental self. So actually, if the mental self is not in your body, then you have some problem. Because then you are not with your body.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Let me explain this first. I like to explain that this physical self is very much like a shell, a glove, okay? Whereas your mental self is like your real hand. So people who walk the street like this, you know, they got to have both self, because you need both of these self to be a complete person. A complete life form. You need to have the physical self and the mental self, you know, manipulate this physical self from inside. So that's why you got all the word called soul, called mind, called spirit, called consciousness. They're all quite, you know, scattering. But in fact, they all these words in fact mean one thing, mean the same thing. And this thing, this what I call mental self, according to the Buddha, he said that this is a natural element, a natural element like earth, like fire, like wind, you know, water, which have its own characteristic. And this element called the consciousness element is the element in nature which is no form, but its quality, its characteristic is to be conscious. Conscious of what? Conscious of your physical self. Conscious of your physical self. So in Thai language, we have all these words that can depict, the function of our inner, of our life form. Right, we have the word รู้สึกตัว รู้สึก mean conscious ตัว is mean your physical self, your body. So รู้สึกตัว we talk about two entities. This entity that make up of, the consciousness element, and this physical self which make up of your earth, water, wind and fire put together. Okay? So all those words, that is dangling here and there, in fact, they all refer to this consciousness element, which is a neutral element in nature, which work together with this life form in this way. So I like to explain like this, that if we start, let's start from birth. A baby who are born, and then if the doctor, smack the bottom, if that baby can cry, kick, all these things, it means that baby come with this body, okay, along with this consciousness element, which make this become a perfect baby, But if the baby come out from the mother's womb and then the doctor smack, and then no response at all, no reaction at all, it means that baby come only with the shell, but the consciousness nature or consciousness element doesn't come with it. So therefore this life form is not complete. So although this life form has eyes, ear, nose, but it cannot function without this consciousness element. Okay, so people who walk the street, they all have this consciousness element with them. Okay, but there are 4 events.
But the problem is the consciousness, they're not doing things consciously because they don't even know what they are doing most of the time.
It's true because the consciousness is being taken away by Jerry. Okay, you see, every human being, they all have this consciousness element or this mental self, but unfortunately this mental self have been taken either by the black Jerry, okay, which give you pain. If not, it will be the pink Jerry, which make you, in the state of dreaming, daydreaming. What happened if I, win the lottery, all these things, you keep on planning, about 10 years time I'll be rich and famous, all these things. Pink Jerry. It's still make up of a forest, but the forest that make up of the cherry blossom is easier to bear. It's not too painful.
You want to keep it actually.
You want to keep it, okay? If not, in this forest, people will be trapped in this white Jerry or clear Jerry. This represent the intellectual knowledge. All this read, without any practice. All these are all different type of Jerry that all human beings are trapped in there. And all these things are subjected to change. The Buddha said that all the phenomenon in the external world and in the inner world, okay, they all fall into the law of change, changing, not long lasting, and disappearing into nothing. The 3 characteristics, anicca, dukkha, anatta. Okay.
That is where it's important to do meditation, otherwise you never